The transfer fees in football is ridiculously high. I agree with that, but what I would disagree with is that Chelsea or a particular group of big spenders football, they are the ones accountable for this abnormal surge in football. I am coming to a point, but firstly, even in our day-to-day lives, has the price of things not gone up? What was the price of bread 5 years ago? What is the price of bread currently? What was your house rent like 5 years ago? What is your house rent currently like? How much does it cost to buy a car 5 years ago? How much does it cost to buy a car currently? How much does it cost to buy a bottle of milk 5 years ago? And how much is a bottle of milk going for currently? So even in our day-to-day lives, the price of everything has gone up. Likewise in football, and there are so many factors that is responsible for this, which I would try to unpack in this video. So please stay with me to the end of this video and don't forget to subscribe, and then let's crack on. Firstly, what is happening in football is what they taught you in economics class, in your elementary and in your secondary and in your high school that you didn't pay attention to. There is something going on, and it's a factor of pricing, and demand. When the demand is high for a certain profile of player, what happens to the price? It goes up. Let me paint a very, very basic picture. There was a time, I hope that you agree with me. I hope that you agree with me that a defensive midfielder is playing role number 6. Okay, good. There was a time that a number 6 profile of players like N'Golo Kante was being demanded, was being needed everywhere. And what happened to the stock of players that have that kind of profile? Their market pricing went up. And that was why Chelsea paid that much money for Moise Caicedo. And that was why Man United was ready to pay that much for Carlos Baleba in Brighton, even though Baleba seemed like he would not justify his price tag. But that is a discussion for another day. Because that profile of number 6 was needed in football at that time. So if you are a player that you fit into that profile, your market pricing will go up, especially if your club has a PR, right? Let's leave DMs. Now, currently today, if you are a Kante, Caicedo, Baleba kind of DM, your market pricing will not go up like that because teams are moving away from buying those kinds of players. Anyway, I'm not saying Caicedo is bad. I'm not saying N'Golo Kante is bad, but football is evolving. Now, who are the kinds of 6 that is needed in football? Players like Rodri, players like Elliot Anderson. And that is why a midfielder that can play as a hybrid 6 and 8 is being much needed right now. So if you're a player with a similar feature, you get into the pool, and if your club has PR, even with small stats that you have, your pricing will go up, especially if age is still on your side. And that is why Man City could pay that much for Elliot Anderson, because he's like that hybrid 6-8 kind of player, a player that can play the 6 and 8 hybrid role, right? So this is what is happening. Now let's leave the DM role. Let's go for number 10, the traditional 10. If you notice, when Kevin De Bruyne left Man City, Pep Guardiola did not replace him with a traditional 10. Why? Number one, there are not much of 10s anymore in football because modern football has evolved and they have found a way to isolate the traditional 10. They found a way to make traditional 10 useless. So what they rather play is a left back who can overlap and play in the pocket, because modern defenders have been trained to isolate traditional 10. However, there are just a few traditional 10s left, and one of them in the Premier League is Martin Odegaard. So rather than Man City or Pep Guardiola looking for another profile of traditional 10, he went for a player that can play hybrid 8 and 10 role. And that's why if you are a player that can play hybrid 8-10, your market will sell. And that's why players like Enzo Fernandez and those kind of players are selling. Also, if it's still in the same space of that role 10, now we now have wingers inverting and playing the number 10 role. So this is where the Cole Palmer comes in, the Morgan Rogers come in, the Eberechi Eze come in, and all those profile of players. profiles that can play, profiles that traditionally they play on the flanks, but they developed into the role 10. They are not traditional 10. And that's why their stock is going up, because that is what they need. That is what the market is demanding for right now. Again, let me give you another example of a role that is much needed right now in football. Right backs, fullbacks generally, because before the right back and the left back were majorly defensive roles. So now, if you are a right back that can play in the center half, that can play as a wing back, that can play in the pocket, your market will sell. And that's why players like Ricardo Calafiori is selling. And that's why players like Cucurella is selling. And that's why players like Trent Alexander-Arnold is selling, because modern football has evolved so much. And what is in demand right now is what is dictating the price in the market. So we can go on and on and on and explain this thing. So there are a lot of factors that is accountable for this price surge in football. Bear in mind, there is inflation everywhere anyway, even in our day-to-day lives. The only difference is that if a price of bread is going for £1.50 and is now £2, is because it's a very small item. But at the bigger scale, the inflation becomes very, very obvious. And that's why the marketplace is going crazy, is going wild. Still on this number 8, 10 kind of players, look at how much Tottenham paid for Matheus Fernandes from West Ham. Look at row 6, 8, hybrid row. Look at how much Arsenal paid for Declan Rice from West Ham. Because over the years, recently, this is what is trending. If you're a player and you fall into the pool of the profile of players that is needed, automatically you are of good age, automatically your market value goes up, because the demand for players like you goes up. Now it now depends on the PR of your club. That is why a player like Diomande, who 2 years ago was playing in third division and has played one season or even less than one season in first division football, was sold to Real Madrid for 135 million euros. Why? Wingers with quick feet, wingers that can do things in close control, wingers that don't need much of space. They are really, really needed right now, because modern football is now very, very, very compacting. There is a market for pacey wingers, wingers that can explore pace, players like Rashford, players like Martinelli, players like Anthony Gordon, players that like to use space. But modern defenders now are fast. Before, defenders used to be slow. Defenders are fast now. Defenders are you can see a center half that is clocking 35 miles per hour now. So modern defenders have been trained, modern tactics have been trained in that line. So now players will want to choke or close the space. So the market is in demand for wingers that have close control, that can operate in tight spaces. And that's why you'll see that Liverpool went to bid for the same Diomande. PSG went to bid for the same Diomande. And then you will see that Real Madrid also bid for Diomande. Look at Lamine Yamal. Look at the valuation of these players. Look at Michael Olise. Players that don't need a lot of space to do the damage. Players that can operate even if you do low block, and you block everywhere for them. And that is what is happening currently in the market space. So if you're a player that you have that attribute, you are within that age frame, if you are in demand, automatically your price will go up. So please, this is my own thought and own research towards the market space, although there are a lot of things that account for this inflation. But please, because Chelsea has money to spend, or because Man City has money to spend, is not the major reason why players market has gone up. Even you as a human being, ideally, if you are growing, your value 5 years ago should not be your current value today. If I was worth $1,000 5 years ago, I should not still be worth $1,000 after 5 years. So if you are very, very productive, if you are growing, if you are progressive in your day-to-day life, your own market value should also be going up. So this is just how I see it and how I approach it. If my club, which you can see at the background and on my chair, wants to sign a goalkeeper for £150 million, you are welcome, bring it on. As long as he will play for us, as long as we will get our return on the investment, as long as that player is going to make me as a fan happy, why not? Come on board. So I have no issues with if a player is being overpriced or whatever. There are a lot of market forces behind this thing. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section, especially if there is a player that did not justify his price tag. Some people said Caicedo has not justified his price tag. Some people said Enzo Fernandez has not justified his price tag. Let me know your thoughts towards that in the comment section. Some people said Jack Grealish did not justify his price tag. Some people even said Declan Rice has not justified his price tag. Some people said Elliot Anderson will flop at Man City and the price tag is going to be a problem. Some people say Yadamande will take 5-6 years to get his feet together at Real Madrid because of the price tag. Let me know your thoughts and opinion about the current market pricing in football, or you still think it's because Chelsea owners have money. Thank you so much for listening and watching so far. You will see me again pop up on your screen in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that we can take this community to a next level. Cheers, guys. Bye.